So, welcome back to Live Your Soul's Purpose. I'm so excited to be here today with Dr. Holly Woods. Holly Woods is a purpose guide and an integral master coach. And our conversation today is really going to be about helping you to connect to what your purpose is so that you can live a purpose-driven life. And one thing that I really love about Holly and share this kind of intersection in our passions is she is all about helping you unlock your big vision for your work so that you can make the contribution that you're meant to be making in the world. And of course, a big part of that is always working through whatever those fears and doubts are that can get in the way of you reaching that contribution that you're meant to be making in the world. So I'm excited to just dive in a little deeper into that theme. And I love opening and learning about people's backgrounds. So Holly, I wanted to just start with hearing a little more of your story and how you came to find and live your soul's purpose.
Thank you, Terra. I'm so delighted to be here. I really am grateful for this opportunity to be with you. And so actually, I came into this life with an early calling around 6 or so. I actually, as some of us do, I had this little voice back here. It's always on my right side, where my voice is, my connection is. That said, I'm here to do important things, and I had no idea what that was. But it was gave me a sense of urgency and perseverance in life. I had a lot of early challenges, young challenges in my childhood and young adulthood. And so that voice was always with me, helping me to persevere and gain resilience and capacity. Knowing that I was here to do something big, and meandered quite significantly in my life. I was always trying to figure out, what is that thing I'm here to do? And so in my life, I've had 17 careers and had a whole lot of trauma and challenge. And in that period of time, I've been developing just one capacity after another. I kept doing, I kept learning, and I kept gaining skills. And ultimately, about a decade ago, I came to realize I actually am here to help people find their purpose. That's why I'm here. And I came to understand that I'd had these myriad careers and vocations and experiences in order to have some sense of how people come into their own purpose in very different ways. And so it didn't happen accidentally. I actually really set out on a quest and trained and studied with a whole lot of different mentors and teachers over the years. And so in developing my own capacities, I came to understand why I'm here. And I'm really excited to be, really finally the last few years totally online doing what I'm here to do.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I love how for so many of us, it's like our challenges are kind of the initial threshold that unlocks what our
completely. Yeah. I mean, I know for a fact that had I not come in and had all of these challenges that I've had, many of which were extremely traumatic and life-threatening, that I wouldn't be who I am here today doing what I'm doing with the level of capacity and resilience that I have, and compassion for people and all that we experience, because it's hard being a human, especially if you're wanting to live intentionally and living into your purpose.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm wondering, for someone who's watching this and feeling a bit lost, kind of how you describe feeling around what their purpose is, or perhaps wanting to more fully access their purpose. Like there might be some inklings, but it doesn't feel entirely clear. I'm wondering what suggestions you would have for helping that person find what their purpose is.
Yeah, great question. And I do get that a lot just, my friends and colleagues and people on the street. Like, so what do I do to figure that out? And there's so many things that we can do. And first I would say the insight I've come to have in having been doing this work for a while is that we each already are living on purpose, as opposed to believing that you have to go find it. Really, it's more about remembering what we're here to do, and our soul can't help but be pushing us and orienting us in the direction of living on purpose. So we already are living a story that has purpose in it, and learning to pay attention to the story that has been emerging and trying to emerge, no matter how much we're trying to repress it or avoid or deny it, it's always there. The voice is always there inside us. And so more than anything, I encourage people to really pay attention to the story of their lives. What are the things that have made them curious and that they've had passion about, and their interests, and where have they meandered that they never imagined meandering? And, who are the people that sort of surreptitiously appear in their lives that create some clue to, oh, there's something there that I had never really expected. So as we begin to pay attention to all those sort of accidental things, there's a movie, The Accidental Tourist. It's like, what happens accidentally that wasn't of your ego or your mind, that took you somewhere, that unlocked some part of you that had previously been hidden? Those are all really important clues about your purpose. And so just beginning to take note of all those things. You can do a journaling exercise where you go back, from early in life and childhood, and sort of put it on a timeline and really think about how all of that has occurred for you, and then pay attention to the patterns of what's occurring in your life. What have you brought in? What have you called in? What has arrived that you had no expectation about? That's one way I really encourage my clients to do. And, just paying attention to the occurrences and even the synchronicities that happen.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Yeah. And I really appreciate the framing that you're using, that it's more of like an excavation of like what's already there, rather than I'm looking for this thing outside of myself.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of the work I do with my clients really is about talking directly to soul, and that does require a little more guidance and mentoring. But the things that we can look for that already exist in our lives, anybody can do at any time. It just requires some attention.
Mm-hmm. And how do you think that soul purpose is different than, let's say, talents or passions? Like how do you make that distinction in your work?
Yeah. So, passion and talents are clues. They're indicators of what our purpose is. What I find is that it's there's almost a superficial level that we can arrive at by looking at the things we're passionate about or where our talents lie. And those things are really important, and they take us down the path of living a purpose-driven life. And it's not quite there. So soul purpose is the thing we came to be and express in this lifetime that's going to have a significant impact on history, on the evolution of the species and the evolution of the planet. And it's a contribution. It's not about us. It's about what we're giving to the planet and to the world. So talent and passion is some key indicator of those things. But generally, I can take people into a process of, getting a really specific, nuanced, I call it a pinhead version of purpose as opposed to a bullseye. A talent or passion is kind of like the bullseye of purpose. And there is a pinhead version of purpose that actually then guides you, creates a a trajectory for your life, if you will, where the energy of the cosmos comes in behind you and propels you forward. So the energy like comes in, and that's when grace and ease start coming in, and life gets easy when you figure out the pinhead version of your purpose. So, for instance, I have lots of capacities and talents I could talk about, but my purpose is to speak powerful truths, to shine love onto shadow, and liberate soul's potential, to reunite love and power. And so it's a very nuanced way that I actually live on purpose, as opposed to having particular talents. That was a long answer.
No, that's great. And I really appreciate the example you gave, and how nuanced it can be. And yet at the same time, how when you're able to zero in like that, it actually, in a way, opens up a lot of contexts and possibilities for the expression of
right
purpose.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, there are many ways that I can, even with my nuanced purpose, I can express it in a number of ways. And I'm choosing at this moment to do coaching and teaching and training and speaking and those kinds of things, but I could express it in a number of ways, but it gives me the energy and the focus and the direction that allows me to have more assurance and confidence and embodiment of my purpose.
Beautiful. And I know one of the things that you emphasize in your work is having a gratitude practice. I love that, and wanted to learn a little bit more about what that practice looks like and how people might be able to,
Yeah. Thank you for asking that, because it is, I think it's for me, it's special in that it probably saved my life, developing a gratitude practice. And there are a number of ways, actually several ways I consistently do it. And I just, as a preface, I spoke about some of the challenges. I was, experienced depression, suicidal ideation on and off for several decades. And, nearly was gone at some point in my 40s. And I did a number of things, and one of those very intentional things was to develop several different types of gratitude practice. And the whole point of that for me, the importance, was that I began to see all the challenges as blessings. Because I began to realize that these things were occurring in my life because I actually needed to learn something about how I was in the world in order to move past it. So until I finally focused on the challenges I was experiencing, like, what is here for me? What is it I can learn so that I don't have to do this particular challenge again? And I had to become grateful then for the challenge, whether it was a relationship or something about a job or a person or just situation. I had to be actually truly, sincerely grateful for it and say, I'm so glad this was here because I learned these important things. So I have a general gratitude for all of life as it occurs. And in order to develop that, I developed some gratitude practices. One of them was the Ho'oponopono practice you may be familiar with. It's an ancient Hawaiian practice. And whenever I feel myself getting annoyed with someone or frustrated, okay, it's time to do the Ho'oponopono. And you say repeatedly, and it's usually something like 10 or 20 times, a couple times a day, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. Because every time I'm annoyed at something, I'm projecting, and I honestly am contributing. So I need to be forgiven and express thanks as well to that person for bringing that into my life. So that's one of the things I do, and I do that regularly, especially these days. Especially these days, I've been doing that a lot. I also, before bed, most nights, sometimes I forget, but most nights I actually think of 3 things that I was grateful for today. And they have to be new things. They can't be repeats. And it's amazing how easy it is to think of 3 new things each day that I'm grateful for. And it helps me to see just the little bitty things that can impact whether we experience joy or suffering. And in that way, then I can stay aligned with who I really am, my true joyful self, that's here to be on purpose and live in an intentional life, as opposed to the suffering soul. So there's always something. So, I mean, today, obviously, this interview will be one of the things I'm grateful for.
Thank you for that. That's powerful. And I'm wondering, let's just switch gears a little to challenges. Well, actually, you're right on track with that, because you're talking about how some our challenges are what we need to be grateful for. And I'm wondering if there are other practices that you would suggest, because obviously living a purpose-driven life is not necessarily an easy path.
Nope.
Challenges.
It is not.
Engage with. So tell me a bit about how you work with clients on meeting and responding to the challenges on the path to living your purpose.
Yeah, that's a great question. And so I do encourage my clients to have some form of mindfulness practice, whether it's meditation or relaxation, exercises, some way, or breathing exercises. There's a lot of way that you can become still inside. I mean, the goal would be to have the ability to have some equanimity where you can be in life without reacting, and more allowing and learning to be with situations. So that's a really important element of learning to be with challenges, is just gaining that equanimity, which really is, is a Buddhist term. I'm not necessarily Buddhist, but I have practiced, I've practiced meditation, several decades, and my practice changed over time and gotten richer and morphed. And so whatever that might be, whether it's 10 minutes or, an hour or more, some way of being mindful and learning to be still and present to our own sense of self and the energetic flow within our body. There are quite a number of practices that I actually give my clients, and some of it's about becoming more aware of our felt sense. So what's going on in your body, and where does the energetic experience of the challenge live in the body, and how are you processing that? So I did somatic experiencing training as well with Peter Levine, and so I have a lot of practices for really knowing where to look. So if you have some anger, where does that exist? Is it in your gut? Is it in your jaw? And what is the experience? Can you describe it? And what is coming from that expression in your body that you can gain some information from? So we're actually listening to our bodies as opposed to repressing and denying the experience. The gratitude piece is really important for me, and I also help people be in the being with the challenge. I also help people to reframe the challenge as it's occurring. So instead of viewing it as in a victim mode, thinking about our victim perpetrator experience, like, what was that gift that you were just given? And how can we reframe it to be something that contributes to your life and teaches you something that will be useful, in the next few days or the next, phase of your life. There's always some gift to be received from every challenge. So there's a reframe process that I help people with as well.
Great. And speaking of challenge, we live in a world right now.
Oh boy, do we!
A lot of just intense challenges going on, and I think for many people it can feel a little overwhelming, tense, just trying to respond to those challenges, much less kind of continue to live your purpose while these challenges are happening, even though I completely agree with what you're saying, that like challenge can be the gateway to purpose. But I'm just curious about how you suggest that we live our purpose in a world that is just throwing lots of challenges at us on the personal and collective levels right now.
Yeah. So, a lot of what I just shared are things I would continue to express and encourage. It is challenging to be inspired
Mm-hmm.
to continue living so intentionally in a world that seems to be falling apart. Most of my friends and colleagues have been having really rough days, and for some reason, I've been able to weather a lot of this in a very calm place. And I think it's because I've been practicing for so long this equanimity and being with whatever, no matter what, knowing that I have faith. I actually have faith in the universe, the cosmos, God, source, divine, whatever you want to call it. I have faith that this too is an actual blessing. And I've been working on reframing what is occurring as a gift. And, you may think I'm crazy. I actually, not that I would have asked for it to be this way, which of course I didn't. I've been reframing it as, this particular challenge is going to activate many of us to be our biggest, truest selves in ways that we had never imagined. And wow, if that isn't a gift, I don't know what is. And so in this time of challenge, we have to dig deep and say, well, what is my response? And how can I be more aligned with who I really am and why I'm really here in order to respond in an embodied, integrated, fully empowered way? Because those of us who haven't been acting from an empowered place, it's time for us all to be, what I'm calling radical revolutionaries for our true self. It's time. And, I'm personally completely woken up. There's not a cell in me that's not now activated and ready to be all that I'm here to be and do. And so for me personally, that's how I've been experiencing this, last couple of weeks. Many of my clients have had some pretty tough time, and most of my friends as well. And I think I'm really encouraging people to both, take. As soon as you were asking the question, I was having to take a big breath because it is tough. So breathing, being in my body, really remaining fully empowered, which means, being fully here, present for all that's here for me to do, that's here for me to be, owning it, reframing it, orienting to the most truest, best self that I can possibly be. And is there really much more that I can do than that? I mean, I'm not here to fight the political battles or the economic ones. I'm here to do what I'm here to do. And that's part of what I do what I do, because I so believe that if each of us was fully empowered to be our biggest, truest self, we wouldn't be in this place. And so the thing I can do the most is to be my truest self and invite and inspire others to be their truest self. And that's really what I think our response needs to be.
I actually really share your perspective and do feel like that there is a really powerful opportunity right now for an awakening to happen and for people to step into capacities that may have been a little dormant. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
we've been sleeping. Even those of us who've been trying to wake up as fast as we can, we've still been sleeping. It's all relative. Yeah.
And one thing that I'm often asked is just and I'm curious about your perspective on it, is purpose something that is part of you your entire life? Do you think of it as something being this is a purpose and I'm born with this purpose? Or do you consider it to be a bit more dynamic, and perhaps that as we evolve, our purpose evolves and we're all more of a dialectical process? What are your thoughts?
And so I can only speak to my own cosmology about it. And, most of the people I studied with and learned from have their own cosmology. So this is just Holly's cosmology. Though it does reflect some of the things I've read and learned. I believe that our soul has a purpose that migrates through time. And that the expression of it is what morphs or evolves. And so I do feel I've been living a pretty intentional, purposeful life this whole lifetime, probably more so than any other lifetime. And it has been expressed more or less in different ways. And that as I've come more into my own beingness, my true self, I'm more capable of expressing it fully, though the way I'm expressing it now may not be the way I express it in 10 years or 20 years. Mm-hmm. And I know I have a long lifetime left to fully express. And so my full expression will change over time. Mm-hmm. And I'm open to that and actually excited about that I'm going to be my fullest self now and express it as best I can, most potentiated with what I have now, my capacity. And in that period of time, I'll gain new capacities like, there will be another expression. Mm-hmm. So I personally believe that our purpose stays the same, the nuance, the pinhead version, mm-hmm. And that we bring on new talents and new passions and new interests, and then it is expressed in another way, mm-hmm. Over time as we gain more wisdom and capacity.
I love that. This has been so much fun just diving into this with you.
Yeah, talking about purpose is like the funnest thing I do. So,
and I know that you have a really wonderful mini course that you're offering as your free gift. Can you share a bit more about that?
Yeah, I'm really excited. So much of my work with my clients is about aligning. As I mentioned, I really believe that we each have a purpose. We come into this lifetime with it, and then we get distracted and shut down and constrained, and we disremember who we are and why we're here. And so much of my work with my clients really is about remembering or aligning with your true self or your purpose. And so this mini course is really a sort of a teaser and to get you started. And so the course itself is called Align with Your True Self, crucial and practical steps to get clear, stay focused, and move past your fear about living your purpose-driven life. I'm really excited about sharing that with everybody so that you can get a jump start on how to be on purpose.
Sounds amazing. Well, thank you so
You're
much,
welcome,
Holly. I really get your depth and how you have really walked the talk in your life. I mean, it really feels like you've mined the depths of your soul and are doing that from a place of great reverence and respect. And I have no doubt that you are able to support your clients in remarkable ways. So thank you.
Thank you, Terra. Thank you. Well, I've really enjoyed this. Thank you again for letting me be here with you. And I'm really grateful for all that you are as well. I appreciate your work.
Thank you. Take good care.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.